Good to dive back again. Once again, let's lock in. Shout out to the IPA, International Passport Association, and affiliates. All the good docs, good books, all my latest and greatest merch, all of that stuff listed in the links in the description area below. Before I start today's video, guys, I want to start off with this comment that I read recently. And I know I'm going to mess it up, but I'm going to try my best to get it right so that you guys can understand the context. And I think that it's going to open up the conversation for today's video. So basically, what the comment said is, you know, when Western women get mad about us dating abroad, it is a lot like a club giving you the hardest time in the world about getting into it, but then getting mad because you choose to go across the street to a different club. If you know who said it, shout out to that brother. If you know where I saw it, y'all know what's good, right? But let me repeat that one more time just in case you didn't catch the context. Basically, Western women getting mad about us men choosing to date abroad is a lot like a club giving you the hardest time about getting into it, but then getting mad at you because you go to a club across the street and probably have the better time, than you would getting into the club that is the hardest to get into. In context, basically, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes these young ladies in the West give you the hardest fucking time in the world, make you run around, jump through hoops, go through circles, cash at me, Venmo me, PayPal me. You want my time, effort, and energy. You got to do this, and this. But then because you don't want to jump through those hoops and you choose to just go another place, then all of a sudden they mad at you for choosing that option over the hoops that they want to put you through. And although some people like to give the homie Austin Holloman a hard time, he's damn near on point when he talks about the games, the gameplay, and all of the shit that you have to deal with in the West. I've said it before in videos. I'm going to continue to say it in videos. That's just not where the energy is, right? A lot of guys are just fed up with it. It's a tit for tat. Oh, let me do what I have to do to get the advantage, and she's going to do what she has to do to get the advantage in a relationship or whatever you want to call it. And it becomes a daunting task of sorts wherein it's a tit for tat. Y'all just trying to see who can get the advantage over each other. So when somebody asked me recently the question of whether the punani or whatever you want to call it abroad is even worth it, I have to say yes. And the main reason I say yes is because it's pretty much all the things you want in a young lady minus the bullshit. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you that every girl you're going to talk to is going to be just forthcoming and willing to do everything that you want to? Absolutely not. Am I going to say that there aren't girls over there that may try to fuck with you a little bit? Absolutely not. But if you compare the young ladies or the group of young ladies that you have in the West to a group of young ladies you have in overseas foreign countries, you realize the bullshit is far less, right? If a young lady wants you abroad, trust me, they have no problem letting you know. They're not going to make you jump through hoops. They're not going to make you do this. They're not going to make you do that. They're not going to make you do all of this unless they after your money. But I think you should be able to pinpoint or figure that out prior to, all that nonsense. I think if you've ever dealt with any women in the West, you should be able to pick up on certain red flags and cues. But if you can't, please ask questions to people who have been there, done that. But for the most part, you'll know if somebody's interested in you, right? And I did a review on a video recently by a subscriber of a guy who did a review on his particular story. It was my last video about the story of Scott Chocolate, which I think is the best porn name ever. But it was a review by a guy called The Regular Guy. That was the YouTube channel. But in that particular video, when you think about it, what was said was, usually these women are no nonsense speaking about Filipinas. If they want you, they want you, right? And they're not going to give you any hard time about it. They're going to be forthcoming. They're going to be willing, all of the above. And again, I happen to agree with that. If they want you, they're going to be forthcoming. Now, again, I want you to understand, I'm not going to tell you that these women are going to approach you first, right? Not going to say that because that's not true. Not all the time. And those that do approach you first usually come with some strings attached. But that's another story for a different day. But if you talk to a young lady, I can tell you right now, if they don't want you or they have no interest in you, they will tell you. When I tell you that I've been rejected a lot overseas, that is true. And you can have a chuckle about it. You can ha. Yeah, you don't get no girls abroad. That's why you can't get no girls and you can't get no pussy or whatever. You can have that moment to yourself. But let me make sure I clarify this. At least when they let you down easy, right? They tell you, no, thank you, not interested. They keep it pushing. right? If they feel like you're going to be a problem, they'll block you, right? I've seen that happen to a couple of guys before. If they feel like you're just going to keep messaging and they're not interested in getting messages from you, they'll block you. But overall, they'll tell you straight up, no, thank you, not interested. I got a boyfriend, whatever. Now, if they're interested in you, you know the conversation to keep pushing. But in the United States, I feel as though dealing with women in the West, there's somewhat of a I need to feel good about myself by putting you down type of mentality that a lot of guys have to deal with when it comes to dealing with women in the West. And that's kind of where this energy comes from. You don't necessarily have to put somebody down in order to make you feel good about you. But yet still, that's the mentality. You have to feel like all these guys want you, and you have to feel this sense of empowerment when you set them down or you put them down, right? You have to feel good about yourself by rejecting other guys. And that's okay. If that's what tickles your pickle, young lady, you do you. But don't be mad when nobody wants to sit there and line up behind you or slide in your DMs anymore. Don't be mad when that time comes, because trust me, baby girl, it's going to come. And you're going to be the ones on here making these sour, bitter videos about guys looking to date abroad. Oh, y'all just mad because y'all can't get girls in the United States. Y'all can't get pussy in the United States. Y'all can't do this in the United States. That's why y'all got to run overseas. Y'all do realize the fucking hurdles that a lot of guys have to go through just to get, even a little bit of your attention. That's problem number one. That's problematic. I would like to at least know if there's general interest in the beginning so I can see if it's worth my time. But the gameplay, let me just keep him around. Every girl that I've ever met has a guy in their phone that's labeled for a specific person. You got a weed guy if you smoke weed. You got a food guy, that takes you out. You got a guy that does this, guy that does that in your phone and shit. And this is your roster of sorts that has been built up over time, pretty much because you're kind of trying to take the role of a guy. And I think that's a bit crazy, but you see that happening more often than not in the West. And when you have a lot of guys that are like, nah, I'm not feeling it, big dog, and we choose to date overseas, y'all got the problem. So when I say or when I ask or when I'm asked the question, is it worth it to date overseas? Is it worth it to get the pussy overseas? Or is the cookie abroad worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze overseas? That's what we're going to probably try to title the video. I'm going to say yes, because it's like I said, the beauty and all that comes with it, minus the bullshit. That's pretty much the easiest equation that I could tell you. It's the beauty and all, just minus the bullshit. And when it comes to respect for the man, when it comes to kindness and all of that stuff, that also play a major role. Everybody thinks it's about just hooking up, but there's a lot more that goes into it. The treatment that you get overseas far exceeds the treatment that men get in the West. I don't care if you're black, white, or indifferent. The treatment overseas in the majority of countries. I've heard this from my brothers who have been to Latin America, Colombia, Brazil, DR. Shout out to the crew. My people who like Southeast Asia, Japan, Thailand, Korea, Philippines, places like that. Shout out to the crew. It seems to be a consistency. It seems to be a fucking consistency that a lot of people overlook. And as a result, you start to see a lot of brothers starting to follow the passport ideology. And you hear a lot of brothers starting to come out and say, yo, man, just get your passport and leave. And now all of a sudden it's a problem because we no longer want to go to your club anymore, man. We're just going to go to the club across the street or the club overseas and have a whole lot more fun, as opposed to dealing with the hardships that it takes to even get into the club in the first place. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, the juice is worth the squeeze overseas. And the reason it's worth the squeeze is because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe a lot more men find happiness dealing with women overseas than they do in the West. And that's pretty much what it is. And I tell everybody time and time again, don't ever let anybody shit on your happiness. Your happiness comes first. Because at the end of the day, who you are, making yourself a better person, whatever it takes to do that, that starts with self first, right? And then you can help build those around you. No different than a lot of guys who choose to participate in the passport community. I could tell you a true story, and I think a lot of brothers will follow this. If you've been through some shit, divorce, separation, bad relationships, or whatever overseas, you go abroad, it is definitely a profound experience to help you get back to who you once used to be, or to help you become a better person. And then once you become a better person, that's when you start hearing these guys making these videos and shit about, yo, man, have y'all heard about going overseas, bro? That shit's awesome, man. I went, had the time of my life. Yo, man, I know you dealing with a bad relationship right now. I know you're going through a divorce right now. Maybe your girl acting up. I don't know, kids don't respect you or whatever. Bro, just get your passport, man. Let's go overseas for a second, man. Just give me a week, man. Take a week off of work and figure out how you could get some time off, man. And I want you to come with me the next time I go. So it always starts with somebody going first, building up their experiences so they can take you back with them the next time, right? And I think that as long as you feel the comfortability as a brother that travels to take somebody with you every time you go, that's when you're going to start to build a passport community, or continue putting out the videos that a lot of these brethren need to continue to understand they don't have to deal with the funky ass clubs. They can go to the new club across the block and you realize it's just a far more better experience. You know what I'm saying? Drinks are free. I'm not saying they're free, but you get it. You know, the club experience is a little bit different. Now all of a sudden the doors start to open, the ears start to perk up, and everybody has something to say. And I want you to understand, this is where it's at. This is where it's at. Traveling abroad for the experience is where it's at. Because I want you to understand something. I say this time and time again, but I think that it applies to all of my brothers out there. Think of it like this. Even if it don't work out abroad, right? Even if it don't work out, you can always come back to the West. I doubt that once you start dealing with women abroad that you would want to backtrack, but hypothetically, even if it don't work out, at least you tried, right? That is the worst case scenario. Even if it doesn't work out, at least you tried. At least you gave it a shot, and valiant effort, honest shot. I pray that you have. But if you've done that, then guess what? You shouldn't have any regrets, man. You shouldn't have any regrets at all. You did it. You came, you saw, you did what you had to do. It ain't for me. I like dealing with these ratchet ass bitches here in the West. You know what I'm saying? If that's your job, if that's what works for you, good. But I doubt that. It's going to be rare that you'll find a guy to backtrack. And if you do know somebody, please let them come to the channel, and I would love to interview them, because I would love to know a guy that's traveled overseas and backtracked and said, nah, this just ain't for me, because I would love to hear their story and understand what happened and why it happened. Because there's usually a couple of key pointers you can tick off or hit on that'll probably help you understand why it didn't work out, right? Avoidance of red flags, etc. But that's my time, effort, and energies, ladies and gentlemen. The juice is definitely worth the squeeze overseas, and that's the reason why I believe. All right? Man, y'all take care, man. Y'all stay blessed. Docs on to the next one. Peace.